Welcome everyone to our admissions panel for the Master of Data Science program at UBC. My name is Milad Maymay. I'm the Director of Program Operations and Student Management for the Vancouver campus program of the Master of Data Science program. We're going to be together for the next hour. We're going to try to answer as many of your questions about admissions to MDS as possible. Just so you know, this webinar will be recorded. I have a little presentation for you at first, and then we'll get to your questions. When you registered for this panel session, you had an opportunity to submit questions that you had, and we're going to go through those questions, but we can also try to answer some questions live. So if you have any questions that are not being answered as you're listening to us, you can put them in the Q&A box in Zoom. As you can see, I have a few guests with me today. What we'll do is I'll ask them to introduce themselves. So maybe we'll start with Prajit.
Hi everyone, my name is Prajit. I'm a postdoctoral instructor with the MDS Vancouver program. So I've been teaching here for a year, and I also worked on admissions last year, so happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Prajit. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm one of the co-directors on the Okanagan campus. I've been teaching in the program since the first year we ran it here, with the exception of last year while I was on sabbatical. And I'm an associate professor in statistics.
Thank you, Jeff. And Garrett?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Garrett. I'm an assistant professor of teaching in the linguistics department and the director of the computational linguistics stream. I've been with the program, with the computational linguistics program right from the very start, first as a postdoc and then as faculty. And yeah, I've been on missions now for several years, so I'm familiar with everything that comes up during the process.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So we will be going through the MDS program. We'll explain a little bit more about the MDS program. We'll talk about admissions and what we're looking for in a good application. We'll talk about tuition and funding opportunities, career services, some important dates, and then you can ask at the end. You can also ask. We'll try to go through your questions as well. But like I said, there is a lot of questions that we already have that you submitted before, so we'll go through those as well. So as I'm doing this presentation, you'll probably get some of your questions answered. I've kind of highlighted some of the points in the presentation for which we received a lot of questions when you registered. So about MDS, so it's a 10-month professional master's program in data science. So the reason I highlighted 10-month professional is because a lot of questions were about how long is the program and whether if it's a research-based program or a professional program. So as you can see, it's 10 months. It starts every year in September, and you graduate at the end of June. So we always start in September and end in June, so we don't have a January intake, for example. And it's a professional program, so it prepares graduates for jobs in industry. It's not research-based, so that's an important distinction to make. It is full-time, so for the 10 months, you're going to be in class probably from like 8:30, 9 in the morning every day until 4:30 p.m. We got a lot of questions about whether you can work at the same time that you're taking this program, or if you can take it as like a second program, and that's not possible because you're going to be working on a full-time basis, studying on a full-time basis, and it's very intensive, and it's basically a 2-year master's degree squished into a 10-month program. The program was created a while ago, conceived from industry consultation. So we went to industry and we asked, what do you want us to teach? And they told us the different things, and then we created this program from scratch. So all the courses have been specifically created for this program from scratch. There is a collaboration between the departments of computer science, statistics, and linguistics. So as you can see, there's 3 people here representing 3 different programs. Prajit and myself are from the Master of Data Science Vancouver program. Jeff is basically the same program we have in Vancouver at the Okanagan campus. And then we have a specialization in computational linguistics, which is the MDS program in term 1 from September to December. The students take the same courses, and then in term 2 from January to May, the student take courses that are more specific towards computational linguistics, natural language processing, AI, and those kind of things. It was one of the first master level data science programs that was created in Canada, for sure in Canada, even in North America. And there are 24 one-month courses followed by a 2-month capstone project. So from September to end of April, you'll take 1 credit courses. So in 1 month, in the first month, let's say you start in September, you take 4 courses. The courses are 1 month long, and then once that first month, what we call it a block, is finished, you take 4 new courses and you continue until the end of April. And then from May and June, you do a capstone project, which is also full-time. And it's in person, so there is no part-time option, there is no online option. So you either, if you get accepted into the Vancouver program, you'll be on the Vancouver campus. If you get accepted in the computational linguistics program, you'll also be in the Vancouver campus. If you apply and get accepted into the Okanagan program, obviously you'll be on the Okanagan campus in Kelowna. Let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. I talked a little bit about this already. So 24 1-credit courses. At the end of the 6 blocks, 6 months, with breaks in between, so it's 8 months. You have the capstone, where you work with 2 or 3 other students. So in a team of 3 or 4 students on a project with an industry partner. There's some sample courses there. We have a web page on our website that lists all the courses. So maybe Vanessa, you can share that link with everyone. You can see all the courses that we offer in those 8 months, and then the capstone at the end. Tuition. So a lot of questions about tuition and funding opportunities. So you can see what the tuition is on this website that is listed here. It's very competitive and comparable with other professional master's program at top domestic and international universities. We do offer several scholarships for both international and domestic students. You do not have to apply specifically for those scholarships. When you apply for the program, you're automatically considered for the scholarships. You can see the scholarships on our website, the different scholarships that we have. So again, you do not have to submit a separate application or documents for the scholarships. You'll automatically be considered for scholarships at the time of admission. So on your offer letter, if you get a scholarship, on your offer letter, there will be a blurb saying, hey, congratulations, you also received a scholarship. The Master of Data Science Vancouver program only also participates in the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program. That's a scholarship for students from Sub-Saharan Africa. It's a completely different application process for that. So you have to apply for the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship Program first. And then if you get selected, you'll be invited to apply for the MDS program. And then once you apply for the MDS program, the MDS Vancouver program, if you get into the program, you'll get an offer from the MDS Vancouver program. So go to the website and learn more about that if you're interested. The deadlines are way earlier, so it's a completely different way of applying to the program. And it's kind of a long process, so I can't really go into it here. Then for domestic students, there's also a bursary program. So if you have a federal or provincial student loan, so after you get into the program and you apply for a student loan, you can also apply for a bursary program if you're a domestic student. So different ways to get financial assistance and funding for the program. And everything is explained on the website that is linked here. By the way, we'll share this slide with you after these slides. Okay, so we also have specific career services. So we have staff members who are dedicated to all our MDS students to talk about, to give workshops on all, career-related things that are listed here. You can make one-on-one appointments with them. They organize alumni and industry talks, so we invite industry companies and alumni to come back and talk about how to get jobs, what kind of jobs are out there, what kind of tools are being used, those kind of things. We also have a mentoring program. This is for all three programs. We also have mentoring programs where we match current students with alumni or industry partners and kind of put them together so they can kind of learn from each other. If you're interested in learning more about career services, we also have a web page for that. So the capstone, again, at the end of the program, the last 2 months, you work with an industry partner on a real data science problem. The industry partner submits a project proposal to us. We vet it, make sure that it's a learning opportunity for you, and the scope fits in the 2 months. Then you get to tell us which projects that have been submitted to us you prefer to work on. We'll put you in a team, and then you work on that project for 2 months, and you deliver a product at the end of the 2 months to the partner. Examples of partners are listed here. Those are just a few of the partners that we work with. So there's a lot more. And again, on our website, you can find out more about Capstone and which partners we've worked with in the past. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about admissions. So what we look for in applications. So in green, you will see what you need to submit on the application form, and then underneath it, why we ask for these things. So the first one is we ask for a letter of intent or a personal statement. In this letter of intent or personal statement, you have to tell us why you want to apply for the program, what your goals are, and how the MDS degree fits in your career plan. We want to assess whether you understand the program. So you know what you want to do with it after you graduate. You know that it's a professional program and not research-based. So we want to make sure that you understand what the program is all about and what you want to do with the program after you graduate. So it's important for you to tell us that in your personal statement. We also ask for a resume. So we want to see what your experiences are. So specifically your work experience. So do you have related work? It doesn't have to be related. Do you have a work experience? Do you have co-op experience, volunteer experience, summer jobs? Those are all relevant to us. Again, it doesn't have to be in data science, because if you're already a data scientist, you have to tell us why you want to take this program, right? What you're going to get out of it. So that's why we ask for you to submit a resume. We also ask for your transcripts because we want to make sure you are academically prepared, and what your background is and what your GPA is, and that you meet the prerequisites. I'll talk about GPA and prerequisites in a later slide. But basically, I highlighted any undergrad degree. So we get a lot of questions about, oh, I'm not from a technical background, or I have this degree in biology or business or engineering. Can I apply for the program? And the answer is yes. One of the strengths of the program is that we have students in the program from all kinds of different backgrounds. There's stats on our website. Maybe Vanessa can share that in the chat. But we have students from business backgrounds, from engineering backgrounds, from science, from health sciences, from arts, from all kinds of different backgrounds, and they come together and learn from each other. And I think that's one of the strengths of the program. So as long as you have the prerequisites, which I'll be talking about, and the minimum GPA, you can apply for the program. It doesn't matter what your background is. Then we ask for 3 letters of recommendation. UBC Okanagan asked for 2 letters of recommendation, so reference letters. So we recommend that you have a mix of academic and professional references. So if you have work experience, you can ask your supervisor. If you, you have obviously you have professors or people that you learned from, you can submit academic references. A combination of the two is probably best. But we understand that if maybe you graduated 10 years ago and you haven't really kept in touch with your professors, if you submit 3 professional references, we understand that, and that's completely fine. Or if you don't have that much work experience and you're more comfortable getting 3 reference letters from professors, and you submit 3 academic references, that's also completely fine. So from your application, we can kind of guess why you have submitted 3 professional or 3 academic references and not a combination of the two. But if you have a combination of the two, that's probably a little bit better. Then for international students only, you need to also prove your English language skills. So you have to have a TOEFL or IELTS. You have to submit TOEFL or IELTS test scores so we can assess your English communication skills. So basically, there's questions about this as well. If your undergrad degree, if your last degree is from a university or institution where English was the main language of instruction, then you don't need to submit a TOEFL or IELTS. So even if you're international students, but you come from your last degree is from a university where English was the language of instruction, you don't have to submit a TOEFL or IELTS. And then for the MDS Vancouver program, there's also a video interview. I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically after you submit your application towards the end of January, early February, you'll get an email from us with a link. You click on that link, it takes you to another platform. It will ask you to record yourself, and you'll have to answer 3 questions. And the questions are not job related. They're basically for us to get to know you a little bit better and get to know a little bit more about your communication skills. Yeah. So there's a lot of questions about what is the most important thing when you ask for these things on the application. Is there something that is more important than the other? And I haven't read here, one is not necessarily more important than the other. So we look at your application holistically. So we look at your grades, we look at your work experience, we look at your references, everything together. And the other thing I've written down here is strength in one area can make up for weakness in other. So for example, we get a lot of questions about, oh, maybe my GPA is not the highest, but I have this work experience. So that would make up. So work experience could make up for a lower GPA. Maybe you graduated 10 years ago, and back then you really didn't know what you wanted to do, so you didn't study that hard, and your GPA is lower. But since then, you've been working, not necessarily in a data science related field, but you've been working, and because of your work, you kind of realized, okay, so I want to do data science because of reason A, B, and C. That will make up for maybe a lower GPA. Yeah. Admissions requirements. So remember the GPA and the prerequisites I talked about. So in order to be able to apply for the MDS program, you need to have a minimum of B+, which is 76% at UBC average in your 3rd and 4th year courses. You must also have a minimum B+ average in your prerequisites courses. So again, if you have a little bit lower, but you have other things that make up, or maybe you were sick a semester, or you worked full time because you had to provide for a family, those kind of things. Explain that in your personal statement of letter of intent or somewhere on your application, and we'll definitely take that into consideration. Again, we look at the whole story. We don't look at just one thing in your application. Prerequisites, a lot of questions we get about prerequisites. So you need to have an undergrad degree, obviously, but also three of these. So let me explain. So you need to have one course in programming. It can be an introductory course. You need to have one course in probability or statistics, and you need to have either a calculus or linear algebra course, or both, obviously. So, and these have to be 4-credit courses. So they have to be, and by 4 credit, I mean FOR credit, not FOUR. So 4 credit courses, which means that you have to take them at a recognized college or university, and they have to show up on an official transcript. So if they show up on an official transcript, then that's a course that we're looking for. So if you take a boot camp online, or a free course online, or even a paid course online that doesn't come with an official transcript, then you don't meet the prerequisite. The prerequisite does not have to be taken at UBC or even at your undergrad university. Maybe you have a degree in business and you've never taken a programming course. You can take a programming course at another college or university, as long as it shows up on a transcript and it's a 4-credit course. You submit the transcript to us, and that's fine. So it doesn't have to be taken at your undergrad university or at UBC even. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say here. We'll get maybe to your questions. We can expand on this a little bit more. Some important dates. So there's a lot of dates here, but I've highlighted maybe to simplify it, or maybe if you're only going to remember 2 dates, the 2 dates that are highlighted here are probably the most important ones. So the first one is November 3rd, our applications open up. So that's where you can start applying. And then January 31st, if you want to be considered for a scholarship, that's the deadline. However, for computational linguistics and Okanagan, there are 2 rounds of deadlines. So the early round deadline is November 30th for computational linguistics and December 15th for Okanagan, which means that if you submit your application before November 30th, you'll probably get an offer earlier for computational linguistics, and December 15th for Okanagan. So if you are on the ball and you want to maybe get an offer a little bit earlier, you meet the first early round deadline, you might get an offer a little bit sooner than somebody who submits their application after November 30th or December 15th. So January 31st is what I would say the deadline for both international and domestic students, the final deadline, if you want to be considered for scholarships. The reason we have the earlier deadline for international students is because of study permits. So you need to, once you get an offer, you need to apply for study permits, and it's sometimes a long process. So you need to get on that sooner than later. But if you're domestic students or Canadian citizen or permanent residents, or a US student, you still have until April 15th to apply for the program. You just won't be considered for scholarships. Reference letters are due 7 days after the application deadline. So if you decide last minute, I'm still going to apply, your references have an extra week to submit their references to the system. And then depending on the number of applications, it usually takes between 8 and 16 weeks for you to hear back from us. Okay, if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A, but after today, after this session, you can also email us, and there are some email addresses here that you can note down. Again, we'll share these slides with you on our website as well. We have a frequently asked questions page, which has a lot of answers to your questions as well. So thank you for listening. I'm going to start asking questions to our panelists, the questions that you submitted earlier when you registered for this session. And the first question is, what does an ideal candidate look like for the MDS program? And what qualities make up a strong applicants? And we talked about this a little bit already, but what sections or attributes should we try to emphasize? And anybody who wants to
Yeah.
start can
I'll
start.
jump.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. I'll speak specifically to the computational linguistics, but we're looking for students who want to be able to work in industry after the program, and who want to learn the statistics and the programming that will enable them to then apply to what you've already learned. So we're very open about wanting to have students who can apply what we teach to very different topics that you may have different backgrounds in. So emphasizing in your statement of intent, what kind of projects you're interested in, things you've done in the past, goals for once you leave the program. It can really give us an idea of what we can offer you, but also what you can bring to the program. We really do like having a diverse group of students. So having leadership skills is something that we really like coming into the program as well. There's a lot of group work and a lot of project work. So things that you can share with other students in the program as well are really appreciated.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, I'll
Jeff?
piggyback on that and say, yeah, the ideal candidate is quite varied. We're looking for enthusiasm for data science and then again all the things that sort of Garrett mentioned. So work experience, some clarity as to why you're wanting to be in this program and getting this training and what you intend to do with it afterwards.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar across all programs, but I'll reaffirm that for MDSV as well. The most important thing is probably that you make a compelling case for why you're interested in the program, what you're looking to get out of it. If you're just saying, I like data and I want to work in data science, that's obviously a plus. We would want you to have that, but a little bit more to your story would be helpful for us to get a sense for where you're headed with this, what you want to do with the skills that you learned from the program, maybe an industry or an area that you want to work in, or some experience that really motivated you to come in this direction because there was a problem that you wanted to solve that you realized you didn't quite have the tools for. So something that makes it clear to us what brings you to the program and will also help us make sure that the program is the right fit for you and that you're going to get what you want.
Yeah, just to add to that, what Prajit said at the end there, we are not applying for a job, right? So you're applying for a program. So we don't want to hear all the cool things that you've done and all the data science skills that you know and all the languages that programming languages that you know, but we want to hear from you what gaps are there in your previous experience, in your work experience, in your educational background that the Master of Data Science program can fill for you so that you can take your career to the next level, basically. So again, we get so many applications that just say, oh, this is what I can do, and I've worked in this field for so long, and did all the languages that I can program in and all that stuff. But then the question that the people on the admissions team then have in their heads is, okay, so why you're applying for this program if you already know all this stuff, right? So keep that in mind. Great, thank you, everyone. A quick question, can I apply for more than one program with one application, or how does that work? I can, go ahead.
I can say we do have slightly different requirements for the different programs, so it does require different applications for the different programs. For example, MDSV has the video interview, whereas MDSO and MDSCL don't. So we do require separate applications for different programs.
Yeah, and there is separate admissions teams as well. So you might get an offer from Okanagan and then 2 weeks later get an offer from Vancouver because we didn't know that you got an offer from Okanagan. So it's really three separate programs. We work together on some things, but the admissions committees are completely separate. Okay. Another kind of quick question that kept coming up is whether there is a possibility to waive the application fee. And maybe I can speak to that as the operations person. So unfortunately, no. If you apply for 3 programs, you have to pay 3 different application fees. However, UBC, so this is not MDS, but UBC has a list of what they call identified by the United Nations 50 least developed countries in the world. So if you're from one of those 50 least developed countries in the world, your application fee will automatically be waived. So there's a website that you can go to, and if you're from one of those 50 countries, you don't have to pay the application fee. Otherwise, there's nothing really we can do. You have to pay the application fee when you apply to the program. Let's go through these really quick questions here. If I apply in a specific year, can the vacancy be saved for the following year?
Generally, no. We do have deferrals occasionally, but usually they're emergency deferrals, like if you don't get your study permit in time to come and study on campus, or if there's a health emergency or something that prevents you from being able to come study. But generally, no. Applications are for the year that you want to come into the program.
Great. Okay, so there's some questions about background. So this one, for example, and we've talked about this a little bit, but we can expand on this a little bit. So it says, I hold a bachelor's degree in global business and digital arts. I do not have a strong math or tech background. What would you recommend I do to strengthen my application and also my chances of success in the program? Are there any additional courses I should be taking or a postgrad diploma or something like that? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I can jump in here. I mean, obviously, the prereqs need to be met. So those courses that maybe you're missing or you underperformed in, maybe you want to update those courses to show that you're sort of able to meet the prerequisites. Other things on the side in terms of projects or even some of the things that you were mentioning, the boot camps and whatnot, they can't make up for the missing prereqs, but they can show that you're putting time and effort into that part of your sort of training and whatnot, and again showing enthusiasm for the field that you're wanting more training in. So that would be my suggestions anyway.
Yeah. Garrett or Prajit, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you're concerned, so for example, you said maybe you don't have a strong technical or math background. You can satisfy the math prerequisite either having a calculus or a linear algebra course. But if you're concerned about your sort of level of previous math experience, taking both is definitely a good idea. The programming for the MDSV program anyway is in Python and in R. So if you're taking a course specifically to satisfy the programming requirement, doing it in one of those languages is probably the most like transferable to the things you're going to be doing in the program. So kind of things like that.
Yeah. There's also questions about when people can take prereqs or if they haven't completely graduated yet, can they still apply for the program? So yes, so you can, for example, if you have let's say you're missing the math prereqs, you have the other prereqs, but you're missing one of the math prereqs, either linear algebra or calculus. You can still apply for the program and show us that you have a clear plan. Maybe you've already registered for a 4-credit course in calculus or in linear algebra. So you can show that on your application, and then you can take the course in the summer. So we could send you a conditional offer, and on the offer it will say you've been accepted into the program as long as you finish your calculus prereq and you get a B+ in it or whatever. So you can apply for the program even if you haven't finished all the prerequisites, but you have to show a clear plan that you've either registered for the prerequisite already or which course you're going to take and those kind of things. If you're missing like 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 4 prereqs and you're planning to take them in the summer, then your chances of maybe getting into the program are a little bit lower because then there's a lot of things you still need to do in the summer in order to remove all the conditions that you potentially will have on your offer letter. So, hopefully you've taken at least 2 of the 3 prereqs before you even apply for the program. Same with like if you're graduating in May of 2026, you can still apply for the program and start the program in September. Again, you'll get a conditional offer saying that you can join the program as long as you finish your degree and you still meet the minimum requirements of the program, so the B+ average and those kind of things. So you can, as if you're currently in university and you want to apply for September to join the program in September, you can apply now and get a conditional offer from us and graduate in May and then join us in September. Did I miss anything? No? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about work experience. So we talked about this, but maybe we can talk about it a little bit more because we get a lot of questions about this. Is the program only for those who have work experience? What if I don't have work experience in data science? Can I still get in?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. We admit students that are coming straight out of undergrad. Usually, at least a few of them each year make it into the program. I mean, ideally, we're hoping for some work experience and some rationale there. But again, if you're in a psychology degree and you realize near the end of that degree that you're starting to be really interested in the quantitative methods section and you've got the prereqs, we get plenty of those students applying, and if the grades are strong and whatnot, and we don't have any other concerns, you can certainly gain admission to the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a small point. So I think the question mentioned that I'm just not sure what the phrasing was, but it was like, if I don't have work experience or work experience in data science, certainly is not required for you to have work experience in data science, because that's what we're preparing you for in the program. So if you're already working as a data scientist, this may not even be a sensible program for you. But some work experience is helpful just because the program is industry focused. You're looking to head into a professional direction. You're working with other students on projects and stuff like that. So some demonstrated ability there is helpful for us, but it's not a strict requirement. We do admit students straight out of undergrad. Of course, your university transcript will become more important if that's the only thing you have. Another thing to mention, like if you are coming straight out of undergrad, but you have, say, research experience working with a professor and in a lab, or you did a co-op or an internship or something, those will also be helpful to include. So you can include that in your professional experience. You can include a letter from someone who supervised you during one of those experiences, and that is all beneficial for your application.
Yeah. I think people will agree with me if I say that if you have work experience that is not data science related, it's actually better, right? So we're actually looking for people. Maybe I'll use this example a lot when I talk to potential students. Maybe you have a degree in biology. You've been working in a biology lab for the last couple of years, and your lab is collecting all this data, and nobody in your lab knows what to do with it or knows how to make sense of all this data and how to present it and those kind of things. So, and then you realize, you know what, if I get a data science degree, I'll be the person in my lab that can analyze this data and present it to external people. So you don't have data science background, you have a lab background in biology, but you're an ideal candidate for the MDS program. So I think that's an example of what the students we kind of are looking for.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what several of the panelists said earlier about what makes for a compelling application. But if you have background in a certain area and you have identified a need for a data scientist in the area that you're working in, that makes for a very compelling application because there's a clear reason for you to be applying to the program.
Yeah. So the flip side of the coin, I'll pose this question. What if you do have background in data science, whether it's a minor in your undergrad or you have an undergrad degree in data science or something related, or you have a couple of years of work experience in data science, what would you recommend in those cases?
Yeah, so I'll jump in here. I would recommend that the best strategy for this is to take a look at our website, take a look at the courses that we offer, take a look at the types of capstones we've done in the past and types of projects we prepare people for. If you take a look at the capstone and say, oh, I could do that in my sleep, then it's probably not the right program for you. You probably already have the skills that we would be training you in for the program. But if you take a look and you say, oh, I only know about a third of this, then maybe that might be something to expand your skills, deepen your skills. But really, it's something that you'll have to take a look at what we offer and decide if we offer enough more beyond what you already know to come into the program. We're designed to teach data science skills to prepare people for jobs. But if you already have those skills, then the program might not be the best fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, Prajit, anything? No? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll just say again, your application is a good place to communicate so if you have a lot of experience, I don't know, working on the database side of things, and you're like, I'm comfortable with all of that part, and that area in the program is not something I'm looking to gain new skills from, but I haven't done maybe some other aspects of the program, not familiar with like more ML stuff or more of the statistics side of things. And that's what I'm really looking to gain to like round out my skill set. Like that's a very sensible application.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
And I'll just add that, yeah, we see those applications. We periodically do have people with a lot of training in one particular area, a lot of training in computer science, and their application is stressing that they feel lacking on the stats side, and that again can make a compelling application, but you're going to have to make that point.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, there are some questions, like specific questions about the application process. So one question is about how we review applications, and this one is very specific. Like if I apply on November 3rd, when is the earliest I would know if I was accepted? So this is a very specific one, but can you talk a little bit about how the process works?
Yes, yeah. So I'll speak for CL because we have a couple of different deadlines. So basically what happens is that first deadline is when we then take all the applications that have come in at that point, and we have a team of faculty members on the admissions panel that will be going through them, making decisions. Every application is reviewed by at least 2 members of the admissions team, and then we have a discussion about the applications that we want to accept, and then we try to get them out as early as possible after we've made our decision. I specifically recommend that international students in particular take a look at that earlier deadline. Study permits have been taking longer and longer to process. So if you have all of your prereqs completed and everything are ready to apply, I recommend applying for that early deadline. And then, yeah, again, with the second deadline, once the deadline hits, we go through all the applications, review them, have a discussion, and then after all the applications are reviewed, then we take a look at things like scholarships and other stuff. But yeah, it's for us it's a 2-date process. That once the deadline hits, then we'll start reviewing them.
Great, thanks, Garrett. How about Okanagan?
Yeah, so our early deadline's a little bit later, and I would estimate for very strong candidates that apply before the early deadline, offers might start rolling out early January after we get back from the holiday break, and then it'll sort of process through as we go along. We tend to take them in the order that we get them to some extent. But it is a ranking process. The overall process sounds pretty much the same as the process for computational linguistics. 2 people will see it. We don't use a bunch of algorithms and whatnot that do the rankings or anything. We have real people looking at your application. This is what your application fee is paying for, and we go through them quite systematically.
Maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Vancouver process. It's a little different because we actually we get a lot of applications. So basically what we do is we start reviewing them. If your application is complete, all the reference letters are there, and you've done your interview and everything, we take 100 applicants in 1 week and we review them, and then we send out offers. Then the next week we take another 100 basically random applicants, we review them, we send out offers. And then the third week we take another 100 applicants, we review them, and we send out offers. So it's kind of like a rolling offers that come in. So if you haven't heard from us and it's like 6, 7, 8 weeks after the deadline, it doesn't mean that you haven't been accepted. It just means that we probably haven't gotten to your application yet, because we do get a lot of applications. So it's a little bit different from the way Okanagan and CL do it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so there is some questions about people that have graduated a while ago. So I'm extremely excited by this program, but it's been 10 years, 15 years, 20 years since I graduated with my, in this case, Bachelor of Science. I'm taking prerequisite courses now and to prepare, and I wanted to know how you value career experience versus academic record. So maybe more generally, like if you graduated a while ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think we've touched on this a little bit, but yeah, industry experience is very valuable. And yeah, if you've been out of academia for a while, then yeah, the industry experience is it can be a real strong point on your application. So don't worry that you don't have a lot of recent classes.
Yep. What I would say, though, is if you graduated 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you've taken your prereqs as part of your degree 10, 15, 20 years ago, things have changed a little bit, especially if you haven't really worked in the technical field. So maybe in those cases, because you already meet the prerequisites, because you have the programming and the calculus, maybe taking some online refresher courses, or doing a boot camp, or showing that you've kind of kept on par or up to date on the latest technologies and languages and those kind of things, and put that on in your application to show us that you're up to date. That would be my recommendation. If you're working in a related field and you're doing statistical analysis in your job, and that's how you keep yourself up to date, let us know in your application, right? So we want to know if you are up to date in the field. Okay. Let's talk about, we have 10 more minutes. Let's talk about data science as a job, as an industry. This is a very general question. Why should I get a Master of Data Science? Given, a lot of questions about AI and how AI is kind of taking over, or is it taking over, those kind of things. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can say a little bit about AI and then maybe lead the data science to MDSB and MDSO. So yeah, in the CL program we do teach the responsible usage of AI and development of AI tools. So we're in the era of big data. I mean, there's just so much data available out there, and whether you're using AI, whether you're using traditional statistical methods, whether you're using machine learning, these are all skills that are just going to be continually developing and in demand as people realize just how much we actually need to process the data, how much we need to come to visualize the data, how much we need to be able to understand what's happening underlyingly with the data. So yeah, it's AI is here to stay. But if you can develop a skill set on how to analyze the data both with and without AI, then I think you place yourself really well in the workforce.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that, a lot of what we're teaching in the programs is peeking under the hood of what's going on with various models and whatnot. So, I mean, if the concern is that everybody's going to be able to implement these models, well, who's understanding what's actually going on and can make adjustments and things like that. So, that would be my argument.
Yeah, I can also make a case very specifically from the Capstone projects that I've supervised. One of the things our Capstone partners are most excited about getting from the students is that understanding of what's the right model to use, when should I use this versus that, why is it working, why is it not working in my situation, why might I need to collect more data or different data, and how do I need to annotate it in order to get things to work. So an actual understanding of what methods are out there, how they apply to a specific problem, and how they can be used by that company or organization or whatever. That's actually more valuable often than just whatever specific data product you build in the 2-month time window. So the partners that we've worked with, that I've personally interacted with, have been very enthusiastic about getting that input from our students. And so I think that's something that we really try to help you get a sense for within the program is, yeah, like how do these models work? What are their shortcomings? What are the things they're good at? What do you need to do in order to use all of them effectively?
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's pretty clear. So there's a question, and maybe we need to get into it a little bit more. What is the difference between the three programs? So the Vancouver program, the Okanagan program, and the Computational Linguistics program.
Sure, I can jump in first here, I guess. I mean, the primary differences between the MDS Vancouver versus MDS Okanagan, partly size of cohort. There's a lot of overlap in the courses, but we do have some differences. We have an optimization course taught by our mathematicians, where we have a very strong optimization research group here. But the overall structure remains the same. The overall content, zooming out a little bit, remains the same. So the biggest difference is cohort size. We've been around the group of 40 cohort, single room. We're all together through it the whole time. So that would be my distinction, I guess, between the two.
Yeah, maybe just to mention, so MDSV and MDSO are taking place in separate locations. So that's 2 different campuses for UBC. So you'll be in different cities, different places. But I believe the content is a little bit more similar between those 2 programs, whereas MDSV and MDSCL are both in Vancouver at the UBC Vancouver campus. You will share some of the coursework. So in a few cases, you might be in the same classes. In a few cases, you'll have the same course but taught by a different instructor. But then some of the courses themselves are different. And maybe Garrett can talk a bit more about the courses for CL specifically.
Yeah, thanks, Brigitte. So we're a smaller cohort as well. So MDSB, I think, is what, 150 students across two sections, whereas we're in the 30 to 40 range for students as well. But the biggest difference is that the second half of the year, CL students split off from MDSV students and take courses related to language analysis. Now, a lot of this is working with textual data. There's a little bit of working with speech data, working with large language models, AI systems. But it's mostly focused on working with text and with written works and a little bit of speech. We have separate capstones as well. The selection of capstones is different. I will point out, though, that despite the fact that the Department of Linguistics is in the Faculty of Arts, the degree, regardless of the program, is awarded by the Faculty of Science at UBC. So it's a Master of Data Science, and the Faculty of Arts is the awarding faculty for all 3 programs. We just teach the classes in the second half of the year for the MDSCL.
The Faculty of Science. I think you said the Faculty of Arts, or maybe I misheard.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, it's.
Go ahead. Oh, I think Garrett froze a little bit. So the Faculty of Science is the awarding faculty. Okay, so with 1 or 2 minutes left, hopefully Garrett can join us, but Jeff and Prajit, what do you think?
It's awarded by the Faculty of Science, but the Faculty of Arts teaches.
There you go. What do you think are the main strengths of the MDS program? Maybe I'll jump in, and so then you can kind of sense of what I'm getting at. So for me, one of the strengths is the diversity in the program. So you have students from all kinds of different backgrounds, not only educational backgrounds like business and engineering and science and arts, but also international backgrounds. We get students from all kinds of different countries come together. You're in the same cohort for the whole 10 months. So you get to know your classmates really well. You get to know the same professors are teaching several courses. They stay with you throughout the 10 months. So you get to know your professors really well. You get to know your staff members like myself and other people. You get to know them really well. So the connections that you make in the program are invaluable and really, really great. So that's for me is one of the strengths of the program.
Yep, I would agree with that, and we stress that from orientation forward, where we have everybody introduce themselves, say what their background is, so that it's clear to everyone that there is that sort of diversity in the group, and they can kind of help each other out with their strengths as they move through the program together.
Yeah, also to say MDSV now has been running for many years in Vancouver, so there's a large community of data scientists working in Vancouver that graduated from our program. So our alumni network it grows every year, and many of our alumni do come back to through our mentorship programs or to come back and give talks and things like that. So there's a large community of alumni you can reach out to. I would also just say academically, I think the MDSV program, what I teach it's a very broad program. We cover a lot of different aspects of the things you might need to know as a data scientist. And most likely, when you go into a job after this program, there's a few of those pieces that are going to be most relevant to your work, and you'll sort of develop more competence in those through your work experience. But we try and set you up for a really wide variety of possible tasks and to have a good sort of broad base of understanding so that you're like really well set up to sort of interface with different aspects of data science.
Yeah, and I'll just add that along with a strong alumni network, we also have a strong network of industry contacts in BC, but also spreading out through other areas of Canada, the Pacific Northwest. We do work with lots of different companies, startups, big companies, academic researchers, all sorts of different groups that we've built up quite a large network of people that come in and give talks and work with us and with students very regularly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Garrett, Jeff, and Prajit for being at this panel. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're at the end of the panel discussion. Thank you very much again. And we are all, I think I speak for everyone on this panel, we're looking forward to reading all your applications in a few months. Thanks, everyone.